All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, thank you for being here. We're gonna go ahead and start our PLC. I know we're gonna review our skills check data for T3, correct?
Correct, yes.
Miss Valderas, Miss Oscar, anything you want to share before we start, or you're good?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, all right. Ms. Valderas, can we get you started? Can you start your data with us and share it?
Yes. Give me a second.
You can, if you want to connect to the smart
Yes.
board, you can.
So this is my, these are my comment assessments that we already talked about this. The past week, so we already went over this information. This is my skills check right here. And I have the top teaks on the left side. I have the reteach review on the right. Do you want me to talk about the percentage of
Yes.
like?
What was your percentage for the top teams?
So for the top teak, for US History 1A, it was 97.22. Those students were able to recognize that the Bill of Rights protect their civil liberties. And so they were able to get that correct. So I was happy about that.
Good. That's awesome.
And then for the second best one, we have 86%, and they were able to understand, I guess you would say, political laws that, with the Homestead Act, and they were able to recognize that. So I was, I was proud of them. That's awesome. And how that created conflict with with the natives. And then we have this one. This one was category 2. They did 77%. So I don't remember what it was about, but it was category 2. I literally did put the categories that they did well on as well down here.
77 is still really good.
77.
Is it 77.78?
78, So
basically 78. Great.
No. I had 36 students test. Out of those 36 students, their percentage, like their passing rate, was an 83.3%.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of those kids, and that's normally what it is. Like when they test, it's like a 80%. And then students that met was 47%, and then students that mastered were 8%.
8%.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Out of that 83% for approaches, how many of those students do you think are maybe 3 to 4 questions or 3 to 5 questions away from scoring at meets? And then those that are at meets, the same. How many of those students do you think are away, like 3 to 5 questions away from scoring at masters?
I did look at the data, and it was quite a few students. If I could just, they were able to approach. If I work extremely hard with them,
Right.
They can definitely do a meet, or they can even do a master. So,
I mean, having 83% at approaches is awesome. It's great. I want us to try to move the students over to masters and meets and masters. Does everyone understand the difference between approaches, meets, and masters?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
So those students that scored on the lowest peaks, so what do you think? How can you improve the students' performance, to close those gaps? What do you think you can do in the classroom to help the students?
For these students, I actually made notes down here. I have students of major concern. I have Luis Rivera. This was his lowest peaks. 1B, 3A, 3B. I believe these have to do with the Spanish American War. So things that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have different areas in the room targeting these different teaks. And I could have Luis, he's a great listener, so I'm gonna have him do like a series of videos on the Spanish American War, have him, and just kind of look at his work and have him do a summary for me to make sure that he is understanding. Because he needs to know that we that after the Spanish American War, we became a world power
Mhm.
and then we acquired territory. So if I see those, then I'm like, okay, we got it.
Great,
So then,
okay,
yes, same thing, this student is actually pretty new, Miss Tugler. And, I understand that she's for that because, she's a new student, she
Right.
started like, I wanted to see where she was at, so I had her test. And then I have Mr. Alex James, same thing, we're gonna do small groups and our classes are pretty small, so. The students, I'm gonna have them help each other out, so peer support, I'm also gonna be there, to kind of. Guide them. And give them different activities. Maya is Maya Manriquez as well. She's one of the students of major concern, and with her, we have a parent conference coming up. So we can
Good.
kind of get her to, so she can do good
Right.
in her academics.
thank you for having that plan ready, that instructional plan for the students that are scoring the lowest. I also see that you identified the
Highlighted,
top
yes.
students. Yes,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, these are students that are doing really good, and I have,
I'm surprised
Yeah.
about having that's fabulous.
yeah,
Yes.
She's very
Yes.
bright.
she's a really good listener, like in class, she's just like, I watch, she's like looking at me, she's absorbing everything that I'm saying. I'm like, wow, you're good, you're like,
Taking it all.
she's taking it all in, and then she does really good. Inclusion support, I am gonna ask for Ms. Baker to kind of come in and help with, Alex, and yeah.
And remember, we also have Mr. Medina now,
Yes, we do.
the special ed instructional aid. So if Ms. Baker is not available, Mr. Medina can assist as well. Yes,
Okay, perfect.
one or the other.
Okay.
And, you can get that one special education student, maybe, have him create a small group to assist you with maybe 2 or 3 others. And, if he has 3 students within the group, he can probably help you with that one, plus 2 or 3 more.
And then this is something else that I have, so, for example, if they're struggling and, I know the teaks that they're struggling with, transcontinental railroad, they'll just come to the Nearpod. And I track their, their answers and all that.
This is a really neat resource. I like this.
And they're able to just, even quizzes and things
Mhm.
like that.
I like the way it's organized because each one of these is an era, and
Right.
a group of teaks. Love it.
So,
Great.
yes, okay,
Mhm.
and then that's what I have for you guys.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
So Ms. Lizelle for English 1, she's not here, but she will share with us next
Alright.
next week when she does come back. So we're gonna move on to English 2. Ms. Gonzalez, can you share with us your data, please?
My data is not as brilliant as fun. I actually have a little bit of bad news, but
That's okay. We're gonna work on this together and
how much?
make sure we make some progress.
Guys, what do I cross again?
Here, you do. And then, I'm sorry. This is what I know.
Man, what is this? I can't see that.
Are they on a farm?
And this is the, yes, this is when they were building. Yeah, I'm gonna put the pictures on the monitor so that someone have eight uses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay. Now, I did want to borrow something a little different because the benchmarks that come up on Fridays, we seem kind of rushed. And they don't seem to be taking it as seriously. So I did try to borrow from Miss Lizelle the fact that we are sometimes taking the actual written portion, going through it together and taking annotations. And I do see, I have very little right now that approaches. And when I did see the actual constructed response, as a matter of fact, look, this is the class I pulled up. There are only 2. It's Luis, right? And I have one more student up here.
What's your percent for
My
students that
percent
scored
is
at approaches?
really, when I learned how to get to this section, campus summary, Ms. Valderas was sharing her knowledge with me here.
Mhm.
And look, I am a lot depressed about that. If this is the campus summary for English 2 students, I'm a little bit upset, but I am using some of the tips I'm seeing We have to take the text ahead of time for these benchmarks, go through it, annotate it, guide them through the annotations. Ask them probing questions for checking for understanding. But I'm not sure still how that didn't translate because we're still going and being tested on the same actual thing that we prepped them on.
So let me ask you,
Mhm.
what did you want your students to learn?
I wanted them in general terms to have the author's craft. I wanted to have inferencing, and my goal was by going through the text ahead of time. For the author's craft and inferencing, pulling out motivation, we even pulled out. Okay, why was this character motivated to do this particular or react this particular way? And they would answer. This is the prep work before we took this test. So the only thing I can like think of is that perhaps they weren't taking the test seriously. Also, if we check the when we do the
Right.
constructive responses.
Right, I
Yeah,
just want to ask because we have a 3.3% approaches, so
yes.
I hear what you're saying about the students not taking the assessment seriously.
Mhm.
So what can you do on your part to make sure that the students do take this assessment seriously? The skills check.
Well, I don't know if it's possible, but I would like to take them away from the computer.
Mhm.
For, that was my goal now that I learned this about my classes, take them away, do the printout. So that it's hands-on in front of them and I can just physically see that they are answering and have them pull out physical text evidence, go back to the thing where we're pulling out, just like we did on our annotations, have them do that. And just have them with their physical copy. Like I had even provided them the copy that we used, because I think they need to go back to that first. And then I can physically see that they are writing their written response as well.
Like this.
Oh, I was gonna
Yes.
interject. I think that's an awesome idea, you know? However, I feel like we're so close to the test.
Yes.
To actual start. you know,
Yes,
And when they take that, it's gonna be online. And then especially with the new
Correct.
format, the new star where, they're gonna have to, highlight or
yes.
whatever. They're not gonna have that pen and paper. I mean,
To
So
prep
it's
them.
crucial that they practice
on this.
now.
And I've had them do this with the common lit, I've had them do this, the three things that I was doing is no writing, common lit, and use Yolane to give them their hands-on and doing that. But the goal was, once they did their written response, I was gonna have them still, yes, for a grade, still transfer their written constructed responses in an assignment, so they could still get that. But maybe just do it one time that way, I don't know. Like right now, so many did not answer the written response. Maybe that would be the way to go.
So-
I wanna physically see it, but they still have to type it
So
in.
let me ask you, because I
Yes.
hear what you're saying about so many not answering the written response.
Yes.
Why do you think that happened?
And I'm not sure, because I asked them to do their best, I asked them to use race. Race is the, answer with the prompt, pull out the text evidence, explain. And they were all nodding, and I said, don't forget to use text evidence, you're gonna pull it out, just like we do on our other assignment. And I've seen them do it on the other assignment, so,
So just to give you some
Yes.
support, before the student submits
yes.
their assessment,
Have them
they
look
need
through.
to raise their hand so you can come over and verify that they've actually written a response to that question.
Do that question.
Don't let them submit until you verify, because then you know that, okay, Rolando he didn't write anything. He spent an hour on the written response, but he hasn't written anything. So then you want to have a conversation with Rolando because you know that he's not taking it seriously. That's a perfect opportunity too. So that'll give you an opportunity to assess, to make sure that you know that all students are writing, that they're taking the test seriously, and that, you're gonna have better scores.
So would it be better not to do that printout, because we are so close to the deadline, and just having more before anyone's allowed to submit?
Everything they do right now, it needs to be online.
Yes,
It needs to be on the computer, because that's where the STAR test will not be
Right,
hard
I've
copy. It
been
will not
having
be.
most of my assignments like that, so that's what
But
It
you also
looks
want to
very
talk to them about
Mhm.
them taking the test seriously.
Yes.
You know, it's, you know, you can pick it up for a grade,
Mhm.
but you know, and maybe teach some of those test taking strategies. Maybe they
Yes.
don't know. We make the assumption that they already know.
No, we've been reviewing after, guys. We've been reviewing and we say, why would we pick this? We always eliminate two. Now you have 50% chance. Why are you gonna pick that one? And the students are responding. So yes, I will do that.
So
That's a very good thing. I'll just make
anyone
sure.
else wants to,
Any,
I would wanna maybe include some pacing. I know that you've divided the test into multiple days.
Huh?
But how much are they expected to complete on day one? How much are they expected to complete on
Mhm.
day two? That could also prepare them for knowing it doesn't have to be submitted within the first 20 minutes of class. You know, you
Right.
can have all day on
Mhm.
Star. You might as well work slowly and
Mhm.
kind of train them to be in that mindset of doing a little bit at a time. That might help prepare them.
you, it helps to build the students' endurance for
Mhm.
test taking.
Yeah.
Like Ms. Mascaro just said, because you don't want them to stay in one area of the test the
yeah,
entire day,
yeah.
because then they've missed out on everything else,
Uh-huh.
okay? This,
So would the pacing be quicker? I want them to get it done quicker, or just pace it out slower and just give them where I want them to be
Yeah,
done?
so say, I don't know how long
Mhm.
was this test? Was it like 2 readings or? what
It
did
was-
look like?
But this is the other part that was strange. Some students were getting only one reading showing up and the other had two. Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
It had the
They're
one
showing
about
the same.
sleep, and then the one that we had covered as a class. It was titled unanswered for the district skills. And some only had unanswered showing there, and the other ones had the additional
did
sleep.
you communicate that to someone?
And yes,
day
I
up.
will. I will.
The
No,
day-
I did not.
Okay,
Because I thought somehow
Mhm.
maybe it was doing it for those that were already showing. I was, unfortunately, I was thinking it was because they were showing
Mhm.
more promise and that they could handle the two.
Mhm.
And that the other people might not, and they only could handle one. But I will, maybe I'll
Yes,
email
just-
about that.
and,
Yeah, like-
and it's one of those where you wanna get either Ms. Mascaro or myself,
Okay,
Or even
or
me, yeah,
our instructional coaches.
okay,
because that's something that we would want to address right then, because then there's not a
Immediately.
consistency with, and that affects our data if
Right.
kids have different, you
okay.
know, tests.
And then, so did the students take 2 days to,
They did, on the second day, they had about 3 to 4 questions left to finish. Yes,
and it's okay to do that, however, keep in mind that when they do take the English two, it's one day, we know there is no time limit, at least until the end of the school day, right?
Mhm.
However, they're not gonna have 2 days, they're not. So, yes, you need to plan accordingly,
Mhm.
you need to talk to them about keep track of your time,
Mhm.
so that they know they're making progress and that they're going to be able to finish. Because the last thing we want is for the students to only do one section, they spend 6 hours, and then they run out of time. So if they sit for the tests,
Yes,
there's no second chance. They have to finish it that one day.
Can I say also, when we're not taking the test, when you're just having assignments, just
Yes.
assignments in class. You could practice that pacing with them then, you know, because if the assignment is to read this and answer this, you could say, hey, guys, you're gonna have whatever, 20 minutes to read and answer the question. Let's try to all get it and let me know when you got it, you know, and actually set a timer.
Mhm.
That way we can kind of get that rigor going with
Mhm.
them and that
Okay.
sense of urgency and
it's
that they
because
need.
some of them are, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not really.
Yeah.
Are you
that
doing
motivated.
exit tickets every day?
Yeah, I'm doing my exit tickets, sometimes it's on the back of their assignment,
Mhm.
sometimes it's like index card, I usually don't do the index cards, I just tack it there or in discussion question, they'll just put it in. So they'll go at their discussion question at the end.
And what do you
Instead
do
of
when you collect
beginning.
the exit ticket?
What do I do when I collect it? They just turn it into me.
But what do you do with that?
Oh,
information?
I'm just collecting it and just kind of like eyeballing, seeing if they got it or not.
Okay.
Like I
would
just
take
read the
it one step
responses real
further.
quick and I get an idea.
So I would take it a step further because that's immediate feedback for you.
Mhm.
That's immediate data. And so you know, out of the group, right? 8 of us or 6 of us did not master it. So
Mhm.
how are you going to ensure the following day or the rest of this week that the 6 of us that did not master today's lesson,
Mhm.
how are you gonna bring that back and reteach? But then you have Rolando, now who did master, and doesn't necessarily need that reteaching.
What am I
It's
gonna
good for
give
me,
you? to
right?
check?
But the focus is how are you gonna bring in those teaks that weren't mastered with new teaks, because you can't stop, right?
Mhm.
So it spirals in, so you've gotta make a plan. But that's where the exit ticket gives you that immediate feedback.
Here's an exit ticket I did, I kind of broke it down for one of my periods.
Mhm.
If the question is the answer, I broke it down to the percentage, to the ELs on it, to the SPED guide. And just
I
to kind
saw
of
the
see,
different. But then when you get these back, then you can just, it is like that, right? We just quickly eyeball, okay, this person has it. But someone clearly doesn't have it, then that stands out for you as a flag, okay, this person, this person.
and so like that percentage was pretty good, that was a 73%.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna focus on those guys, like I'm gonna continue to give them some things, like I know with the ELs that I have, they need more concrete things, so I'm gonna get them some manipulatives and a little one-on-one. And with the three others, they just need a little more concrete things as well, and just repetition with it, because they answered one portion of it right, but they didn't answer the other portion. So it's just kind of, and it's quick, that's a star question.
So, and I just, go ahead.
One other idea that popped into my head regarding your exit tickets, because you mentioned some of them are discussion questions, you
Yeah.
know? So you're already getting in Schoology and making a question.
Yeah.
What if, instead of doing a discussion question, you went into Schoology and made like a sample EOC question? You know, cause you can get in there and make the new ones.
Right,
the new
right.
form, and then have that as your discussion question for each day, and then attach the teak to the question. And that way, instead of having to go through and look at each paper, you can pull it up and easily see, 26 of the, it's,
For this
did
teak.
this, yeah, for that teak. And it would be instant for you, and it would be divided per class, just an idea. It takes a little more time with the front loading, because you have to go in there and make the question. But at the same time, you could just quickly pull it up and see, yes, no, who got it.
And that data is right there if you attach that tick to it.
Yeah.
So just before we, your takeaway from here, I need you to focus on the instruction. Because if you have 3% at approaches, that means
It's
that
an emergency.
your biggest percentage is at did not meet. I need that to change. We need it to change. So I want the opposite. I want you to have 3% at did not meet. And then the rest
Yeah.
over at passing. We're running out of time, so I need, Ms. Crawford, go ahead and if you can share your data with us, please.
So for my Algebra 1 course, yes, they had 36 students who took the test. They tested on Wednesday. Overall, it's 44.64 in comparison to the district at 46.65. I had 50% approach, 16.67 satisfactory. My lowest TEAC was a 22.22%. And that was the domain and range question. They know domain and range. They're just not, and I talked to Mr. Watson about this. If the STAR is either all or nothing, then it's good to have these as all or nothing. But if there's partial credit for answering the question, then I think the students deserve to get partial credit on the test, because the question on range, it was, they had to mark 6 answer choices correct to get the problem correct. So sometimes the students think in their head, like, I know this is correct, but I'm putting too many answers down.
Right.
So I think that's why they got that one wrong, but,
So it should be, the skills check should be modeling.
the
what
person.
the students are gonna have
But-
in the
Yeah.
STAR test.
But I think, cause I was talking to Watson about it, and I think 2 days ago or whatever, but, we don't know for sure if STAR is gonna give partial credit or not.
Right.
It's not definite, so.
He's asked a few times
Yeah.
to see, because Mr. Range said he thinks it's partial, but no one knows.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would like to know, because that makes a difference,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of tables that they're filling in. There's a lot of check boxes that they're doing, or 2-step problems that they're answering. And if they're getting one portion wrong, then they're losing out on all those points instead of just, 1 point.
So we have about 3 minutes. So I have a question for all of you. What are your next steps to ensure mastery by all the students?
But for me, I have used my exit tickets to see where my students are, and the last 2 days I've done a lot of individual work or group work so that I can walk around, because what my stuff shows was that my students who are not at least approaching are like my non-English speakers, so my
Right.
ELL students, and they just need more one-on-one time, and I have a
Right.
lot of non-testers in my room, so.
So we may need to get Ms. Venegas, Ms. Let, to start doing some push-ins and support you guys also with our EB students, because we need to make sure that they get there. That they master. I want you to also, and I know I just asked you a question, but I have to remind you. I want to make sure, for example, Ms. Gonzalez, if you have 3% passing. Would you say your students in your English 2 class?
Yeah.
Are they passing? Are they
Oh, in their class.
academically, are they passing the class?
Well, I've had severe disciplinary issues in 2 out of the 5 classes, so the 2 out of those are not, majority are not.
So I want
But
you
then
to
the
think
other
about,
ones without the
if
disciplinary.
you have a
are doing
90%
better.
passing rate in your class, but then you have a
No, I
3%.
don't. I don't have 100% passing
Yeah.
rate. They are struggling
Okay.
a little bit, and I'm changing my plan, what you just asked right now,
Mhm.
because I got feedback from you guys. I was gonna pull them off, take it on paper, so we have the security and it's visual and they're manually doing it and it's in front of them. But I'm probably gonna, like you said, I'm gonna keep them on the computers and just monitor and have those little stops before they submit. That's my plan at least for this.
And keep the instructional part in mind, you know, how you're gonna scaffold that instruction for the students so that they make sure that they're mastering. And always make sure that you're grading for mastery and not for completion, okay? So we're basically out of time. I know first period is about to start, so we'll continue the conversation next week, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Yeah.
I
One of
got your
these days,
kids
we're
today.
gonna be a public district in this now.
I got your kids today. You moving Miss Jacko?
Yes, I have.
Oh,